Right. So the influence of Sunnah on building Islamic civilization. So last class we have discussed the foundation of Islamic civilization, that is Wahi, as well as Quran we discussed. So the main areas, the revelation of Quran and compilation of Quran and how it is connected to Islamic civilization. Revelation, compilation, and civilization. So that is how we focused. Today, the influence of the Sunnah on building Islamic civilization. So this is the area that we are going to discuss today. Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did not merely teach doctrine, did not merely teach the doctrine. He built a civilization. His words, his actions, and guidance shaped every dimension of human life, from the individual to the state. So his words, actions, and guidance. Qawli, fi'ali, taqreer. Qawli, fi'ali, taqreer. So these three things are the main source of Sunnah, or we can say Hadith. So what is Hadith? Hadith is a thing that which is written. The Sunnah is written means that is a Hadith. So Sunnah means Rasulullah. What he said, everything is coming under Sunnah. So what his words and what his actions, purely, and what he guided to people, or what Sahaba said, he agreed on those things. Influence of the Sunnah on building Islamic civilization. So we cannot build the civilization, Islamic civilization, without the Sunnah, without the support of Rasulullah, without the support of the human being, because it is the revelation from Allah, so it has to be practiced. So we need someone's support to build the Sunnah. Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did not merely teach doctrine. So he was not just teaching things, he also built a civilization. His words are known as Qawli, Sunnah, actions, is also Sunnah. Also the guidance, what he guided is also considered as Qawli, fi'ali, taqreer. So he shaped every dimensions of human life, from the individual to the state, every dimensions of the human life, from the individual to the state. Right. Now, we know the civilization, already we discussed. So the civilization defined, already also we mentioned about it, civilization does not arise from nothing. Ibn Khaldun links it to population growth in social systems. So Samuel Huntington defines it is a community with broad high culture. So someone has to guide, or someone has to confront to this, forming a society, or to increase the population of that community who are backed by this civilization or system. And also the community with broad high culture. So culture and civilization, there are the similarities that we discussed at the beginning. So culture is something which is not coming to action. So culture is there, it is not coming to action. But when it comes to civilization, so the action is very important, the outcome or output. So someone has to do that. So that is the main person here, Rasulullah, he did it. From ignorance to civilization. So this is not the civilization which is already civilized people. We know Ayyamul Jahiliyyah, the period of ignorance. From those period of ignorance to the civilization. Islam emerged in Mecca, a center of ignorance at that time. No other civilizations influenced in Mecca. So who changed it? Changed this? Quran changed. And who guided to change that? Living with them and speaking to them and actions or the activities, showing the activities, showing the actions, and guiding them, all these things by Rasulullah. Medina, renamed from Yathrib, derives from Hamadun, that means the civilization, and become the Prophet civilizational headquarters. The Prophet civilizational headquarters is the Medina. So that much influence of the Sunnah. Okay, so the Sunnah as foundation. So Hadith, the Quran is a foundation as well as Sunnah also foundation here. So practicing the Quran is how to act and show. The Sunnah, the Prophet's words, actions, and approvals, approvals, is the living blueprint of Islamic civilization. Ibn Abdul Qurtubi states that Rasul refers to the Prophet while alive and their Sunnah after wafat. So Rasul refers to the Prophet while alive. Now we don't say Rasul, we say Sunnah. Sunnah to Rasulullah, Sunnah. By the time he was living, so that we call Rasul. So that time we were not telling, or they were not telling Sunnah. Sunnah comes after his death, after his wafat or death. Every act of Prophet contributes to civilization. Every act of the Prophet contributes to civilization, building and remain relevant today. So main things here, even the modern context, the community, territory, and leadership. The Muhajirin and Ansaris. Muhajirin, the people who were from Mecca, who went to Medina as Muhajir, so that means Hijrah. Ansaris means the people who helped or assisted or supported from Medina. The Medina people are called Ansaris. The people from Mecca called Muhajir. So civilizational. The territory Yathrib or Medina selected as the ideal location. Makkah was not an ideal location to form a civilization. Makkah was good, but it was not ideal location to form a civilization. So that problem was there in Mecca. But Medina was the best territory to form a civilization that we can see from the history. And the leadership, the Prophet guided all religious, social, and political affairs. It was not just the Prophet who was assigned to the mosque and reciting. No. The Prophet guided not only religious things, he was a religious leader, okay. In addition to that, social guidance was given. Political affairs, he was involved in political affairs. He was communicating to the kings. King of Abyssinia, he sent the letter to them, and he was signing several agreements with other communities and other rulers at that time. Right now, individual is the main thing in any civilization. So to change a civilization or change a community, first we need to approach the individual. So Rasulullah first tried or influenced with individual to change the society or community. As we can see here. So the individuals in the families, individuals together, a family, individual family. So individual together, it is called family. Families together, it is called relatives. All relatives together, it is called the society. neighbor, society comes. So first target should be individual. Then the family will be corrected automatically. Then the society will be corrected. So Rasulullah first targeted a foundation of Islamic civilization is individuals. So what he made change among the individuals, the equality and dignity. He brought the equality and dignity. The Prophet declared all people descendants of Adam, alayhi salam, abolishing discrimination by race, color, language, and religion or region. He freed slaves and elevated them. Appointed Bilal radiallahu anhu, was a slave at the time, as Islam's first Muaddin, and Osama bin Zaid radiallahu anhu as army commander over senior Quraysh. So they were leading on that. The leadership was given to them who were the slaves. So Rasulullah had maintained, Rasulullah had emphasized the equality among people, the dignity of the people were valued. So this is the foundation of civilization. The individual is the foundation of the civilization. So we need to change individual based on the Quran. So when Abu Dhar called Bilal, son of a black woman, the Prophet rebuked him, your ignorance has not yet departed. You have spoken in an uncivilized manner. So Rasulullah was emphasizing the civilization at that time. Bilal from the slaves, so he changed them, or he tried to cultivate a better civilization, but still some people were going back. So he warned them not to go back to uncivilized communities or system. So from this we can understand Rasulullah, how Rasulullah had given the equality and dignity to mankind or people who were slaves in the beginning. So this is the foundation of the individual who needs to be changed as civilized man or people. And Rasulullah also focused next to the families, from individual to families. So families are the civilizational cell. Family is the civilizational cell because the responsibilities are shared among them. Individual responsibilities are shared. Honoring women and child nurturing. So these three main part in family. Family means sharing responsibilities, honoring women, and child. So these three are also important, or more important in cultivating a civilization or creating a civilization. Each of you is a shepherd and will be questioned about your flock. The Hadith from Bukhari. Both husband and wife bear responsibility for the family. Someone has to lead. So we cannot have only individuals separately living, no. So people should live as families. That is a punishment. So we put people into jail, the reason that they want to cut them from the families and community. So there is a punishment, keeping one person isolated. But when it comes to civilizational institution or civilizational cell, so definitely there should be interaction with people. Mainly Rasulullah focused first the individual, next the families. So he guided the shared responsibility among the families. And honoring women, the best of you is good to his wife. Men were advised to treat women with kindness and respect. And child nurturing, the Prophet carried Hassan and Hussein, his grandchildren, on his shoulders, played with them, and modeled affectionate parenting. Now we are worried about this affectionate parenting. the parenting systems are there nowadays. The affection is parenting. Those who do not love children are not of us. Those who do not love children are not of us. So Rasulullah had guided the responsibility among the individual in the family. That means the responsibilities cannot be taken alone, but it has to be shared among the family members. Each and everyone is having responsibilities. Husband is having responsibility on his wife. So wife is having responsibilities on. These are called haq. Haq means the responsibilities that we need to. Haqqullah, the responsibilities to Allah. Haqqul ibad, the responsibility among the people. Haqqun nafs, we also have responsibilities among us. So we have to take care of our nafs. If we are sick, we have to get medicine, or physically we have to maintain ourselves, mentally we have to maintain ourselves. So that is haqqun nafs. So haqqullah, haqqul nafs, haqqul ibad. So here the part is haqqul ibad among the family members, and honoring women. So women were not honored at that time. The women's rights were not given at that point in Jahiliyyah. So Rasulullah honored women, and also he was emphasizing the child. So these are the things that Rasulullah focused, not only individuals. Once individual is corrected, then he moved to the family. Now, he brought further extended to neighbors and relatives. So these are called as the civilizational ripple. The civilizational ripple, that how to deal with, or how to interact with the neighbors and relatives. So this is also important thing. So civilization. So once we go through all these things, so we can understand how systematically he was forming a civilization. No one in the world has done like this way. No leaders in this world. No way. So they are lacking in certain areas. But Prophet was covering everything. Whoever wants their livelihood to be widened and lifelong should maintain blood ties. So he is now connecting the families, connecting the individuals as family. Now connecting the families as neighbors and relatives. Very strong hadith. One who eats alone will not become a believer if his neighbor is hungry. So this authentic hadith. A single hadith in action converted Muhammad Marmaduke Pickthall, a British Christian diplomat who learned Arabic, embraced Islam, and produced the first English translation of the Qur'an. A single hadith in action converted Muhammad Marmaduke Pickthall. So we know Pickthall translation, the popular translation, English translation. So those people attracted by this hadith, so they embraced Islam. So that much powerful, the way that Rasulullah had brought these institutions as neighbors and relatives. Now, how Rasulullah bound or binding the individuals together. So how we can have the connection? Now we are talking about networking and all sort of things. So how Rasulullah brought people, individual together as society. The Prophet compared individuals in society to body parts and stones in a building. It's like the body parts in a stone in a building. He prescribed 5 social bonds. So these 5 things will create people connected. Interaction will take place. One is salam. They greet every Muslim with peace. So they are connecting each other by salam, peace. Salam means peace. Alhamdulillah, respond to a sneeze with prayer. They are again connecting with others. The person who is sneezing, alhamdulillah, shukr. Yarhamukallah. So all these conversations, socialize, accept invitations and gather. So whatever invitation for a good cause, so we need to socialize with them, accept those things. And advise, give sincere counsel when sought. Visit and mourn. Care for the sick, attend the janaza. So these are some sort of social bindings. Social bindings. Individual, family, neighbor, relatives, now social bindings. Jamaat, Jamaat, Jamaat prayer. Rasul emphasized to pray masjids. So Jamaat prayer, Jummah prayer, social connections, networking, zakat, social connection, fasting, Hajj, further bind individuals to the community. So these are day-to-day life at micro level, that salam, alhamdulillah, socialize, advise, visit, and in addition to that, the broader concept is the Jama prayer. 5 times people get together. The Jummah is a little bit broader. The people who don't go to Jama prayer, definitely they will go to Jummah. So Jummah, the crowd is high, and specific places they gather. Also, zakat is the social act or social ibadah. So that has to be organized properly from the economic systems. Although it is not happening properly, it is not the individual responsibility. Zakat is the social responsibility. So it has to be collected, not individually. The collection should be as a community. So people have to look after that or to take care of that. And the Hajj further bind individuals to the community, international level. Now, Rasulullah also focused on the education system. Education system. Now we are talking about education system and this pedagogy or the early child education, this that we talk about. But Rasulullah already spoke about it long time ago. From illiteracy to learn. So he was bound to the community. They were not learned community. So most of them were uneducated, etc. The Prophet made education obligatory. Yes, Ibn Majah. The Prophet made education obligatory. Talabul ilma farilatun. Both. Farilatun ala kulli muslim wa muslimatin. Men and women both seeking knowledge is compulsory. So Masjidul Nabawi served as school, library, and community center. So we will discuss masjid separately. So if we focus Masjidul Nabawi, the Masjid of Prophet in Medina. So it served as school, served as library, and it served as the community center. Ashabu Sufha group lived in the mosque dedicated to education. Dedicated to education. So a group wanted to learn. So the education system, Rasulullah focused on the education system because to form a civilization, education is very important. So what he did, from literacy to learning, the Prophet made education obligatory. Masjid Nabawi served as school, library, and community center. You know, Ashab Sufa, the people who lived in the masjid. So the group lived in the mosque dedicated to education. And also innovative literacy drive after the Battle of Badr. Literate prisoners were freed in exchange for teaching 10 Medini boys, each to read and write, transforming an illiterate society rapidly. So how the punishment was to gain knowledge from them. So innovative literacy drive. So whatever new things that they can teach. So nowadays it is called the education 4.0. It's innovative producing education. So this was already Rasulullah had done 1400 years ago. And also personal example of Rasulullah. Prophet himself learned Hebrew to communicate with Jewish communities, modeling lifelong learning. He learned. He got the wisdom of learning. He learned the Qur'an. People might say Rasulullah had he was ummina. That means he illiterate. No. One point of time that he changed himself a literate one. No scientist in this world had seen what Rasulullah saw from aerial view. So he had gone out of this world. From the outside of the world, earth, he had seen everything. Entire universe he was passing through up to Sidratul Muntaha and above. Jibril alayhi salam only Rasulullah could go beyond Sidratul Muntaha. So when in schools, it's a field trip is there. So Rasulullah, the field trip was the Mihraj, where no scientist had seen what Rasulullah saw. Never. Not only going up to moon, exceeding the universe levels, exceeding the Sidratul Muntaha, where there is no access even to Malaika, head of Malaika, Jibril alayhi salam. So who is well educated in this world? That simply that best scientist in this world, a well-educated person who know this world and beyond this world, earth also. We test everything in laboratory maximum, but Prophet went out of this earth from the aerial view. He could be able to see and experience what we have never seen, what the scientists in this world have never seen. So Prophet himself learned Hebrew to communicate with Jewish communities, modeling lifelong learning. There is another term that nowadays we are highly emphasized in the educational field. It's a lifelong learning, reflective learning, lifelong learning. These are the terms nowadays we are emphasizing to teachers. But Rasulullah had practiced 1400 years ago the lifelong learning. He learned things after 40 years. So Rasulullah is a well-educated person. So we cannot simply say he is Ummi Nabi, so yet he was illiterate. He could be, but he learned thereafter. And Rasulullah also involved in the political system. Like education, we need the proper political system to bring a civilization. So three major things that we can focus and prove that Rasulullah was involved in political system. Medina Charter is one of the things that Rasulullah portrayed him as a political leader. This is the first constitution in the world, first constitution in the world. So thereafter only Magna Carta. Magna Carta is 1400, I think it's very recent, the Magna Carta. That was a praise that came against the king of exceeding tax liabilities put on to people. They were throwing the king by Magna Carta agreements. But this is far earlier than Medina Charter. Medina Charter is 1400, 500 AD, 500 AD, 500, 600 AD at that time. The Prophet's agreement with Medina's Jews protected the rights of every sect. The landmark constitutional document comparable to the Magna Carta. That's the Magna Carta term is there. So we can compare with Magna Carta. The Magna Carta is a powerful document, but this came first. Magna Carta 1415 or something, but this is far earlier than Magna Carta. So this is considered as the first constitution in the world. And he also had the Shura and succession, so parliament or some discussions or democracy. The Prophet emphasized constitution, that is the Shura, in governance. The Bayat system, pledging allegiance to leadership, paralleled modern democratic voting system. So Bayat is similar to modern voting system. So any country to develop, how we say developed country, how Sri Lanka is considered as a developing country, we need to develop in 4 major areas or 3 major areas: political development, social development, and economic development. If one of these is lacking, that is not considered as a developed country. Some Middle Eastern countries are not considered as developed country because the economic development is there, but they don't have the social development or some other development, which we can see from here, the political system, lacking in political systems, monarchy or whatever the systems. But Rasulullah had brought this Bayat system that is parallel to the modern democratic vote and covenants and justice. The Treaty of Hudaybiyah showed that agreement must be honored even at personal cost, a model of principled statecraft. So justice, sometimes if something which shows in political arena that it's unfavorable for us, but still that once the treaty is signed, so we need to follow those things. So political system here, it is categorized as Medina Charter. So that is the constitution or some binding agreement, constitution, the main thing, how to governing system, constitution. Any country that first they draft the constitution. Sri Lanka, we have the constitution. Many countries have the constitution. So we can't go beyond the constitution. So constitution should cover even the majority, minority, or all people. It should have the very good inclusiveness of the communities. So that was there. The Medina at the time, Rasulullah and Muslims were majority. But Jews were minority at that time. So to have a proper agreement between minority and majority. So this was the best example. The constitution which guided, the constitution which covered the entire population, no matter the minority or majority. So this is a powerful constitution, and we can say this is the first constitution in the world. And Shura and succession, there that Shura should be there, the parliament, or how to govern with the system. Shura is the discussion, consultation, emphasized consultation. Cannot make decisions. There is a problem nowadays which we are facing because of the executive presidency. Sometimes president is having more power than the parliament, executive presidency. So those type of things, that power can be executed by consulting the parliament or the people or Shura. So Shura is another thing, the parliament, and also the judiciary, the people who are expertise in the law. So they need to consider this. This all through the democracy and transparency in the modern political system. Governance and justice, yes, the Treaty of Hudaybiyah is an example. So Rasulullah had systematically formed or executed or exercised the political system, education system, political. What else we need for the civilization? And also economic system. That's another thing. The development is depending on these systems: political development, economic development, social development. So he made Arabia as a developed country, developed nation, because all three developments were considered here. So I can guarantee and tell that it was a developed country, because these are the yardstick to say these are developments. The economic system, wealth in circulation, Islamic civilization rejects wealth concentration. So wealth is to be distributed, or it is, some people should not keep the wealth with them. So economic system will not function. If you learned the macroeconomic system, so injection and outflow of the cash. So the circular flow of income, that means it has to circulate, then only the country will develop. The economic system will develop. So Rasulullah had a big, powerful theory that now we are discussing this theory from the economic systems. So this theory was practiced. The money should not held up in some people. That's the major problem. Sri Lanka is not a poor country. Sri Lanka is a rich country. Why? Because inequalities in income. The income which is coming to the country, major portion is taken by the smaller population, and smaller portion of the income is taken by the bigger population or large population. So money is not circulating properly. So that is the problem in Sri Lanka, and many countries, the same thing. But he was emphasizing, by going through these things, he was the economic doctorate, or more than that. Islamic civilization rejects wealth concentration. Systems like zakat, sadaqah, waqf, and inheritance law ensure the wealth circulates. So money has to circulate. I cannot keep money idle without giving to others. The Prophet advised keeping enough wealth so relatives remain self-sufficient. Keeping enough wealth so relatives remain self-sufficient. So we have to give others. First the relatives, then the others. So ethical earning, and also he was emphasizing that when you earn, it has to be ethical. When you do business, no jilmat or no cheating or check is bounced, nothing. So ethical earning is very important. That is what he prohibited, the riba or the interest, because its interest is unethical. Money is not circulating. Money is not circulating. Or my effort is not there. So that's a different story. We cannot bring that at this point. But ethical earning, the Prophet forbade hoarding, bribery, usury, that's interest, and deception and narcotics. So these are unethical earning. So that is also impacting the society. To have the proper civilization, so the earning should be ethical. We talk about it now. We discuss about the ethical, the concentration, ethical importance of ethics in business. He praised honest labor. No man has eaten food better than what he earned with his own hands. So this is somewhat supporting to the socialism. So Islam is supporting to the socialism, Islam is supporting to the capitalism, also no problem. But if you earn, the money should circulate. Unfairly, we cannot earn things. It is balancing, which we call nowadays the mixed economy of socialism and business. So it is like balancing the economic system. So four main things which Rasulullah introduced to balance the economic system. If we balance these things, if we brought these four things properly, we will succeed. If we want our country to become a developed country in economically, we can apply these things in a systematic way. 100% guaranteed that country will develop in economy. So these are the four main things: zakat, obligatory wealth redistribution. Islam doesn't say that you cannot have this much. You cannot have 10 houses, more than 10 houses you cannot have. You cannot have this car. No, anything you can have. There is no limit, but make sure that you distribute the zakat. 2.5% of your wealth, accumulated wealth, you need to give zakat. No matter, you can have millions, trillions, quadrillion, no problem. So 2.5% yet. So then the money will circulate. So zakat is obligatory wealth redistribution. If zakat is functioning properly, we will not find any poverty in the world. The waqf, that is endowment for public benefit. So we talk about who is going to give the public benefit. Free goods, economic goods, all these things we discussed in economics. So waqf, someone has to come forward to give voluntarily to people. Waqf, the masjid is needed, the bridges needed, the waterways needed, schools needed. So those type of things the government should provide. If not, people should waqf those things. So the greater reward of those, even after death, that reward will go to him until the day of until the Qiyamah. Usman radiallahu brought well, Bir Ruma. So that income or that benefit still going to him. Whoever used that, whoever benefited out of that, the generation and generation, that benefit will go to him. Inheritance law, this is one of the serious laws in Islam. So Islam or Qur'an emphasized this law, very clearly mentioned how the property should be allocated after death. So inheritance law is a powerful law in Islam. Allah had clearly mentioned this law. None of the laws that it's not clear like this way, explaining this way. So define, shared, protect. So the families or the generation should get properly. The wealth has come from Allah, and it is end of the day, it is going to Him on. Lahu mulku samawati wa ma fil ard. They are not owning anything. What we got, that our effort, but we got from Allah. So it has to, end of the day, after Qiyamah, it will go to Allah. So inheritance, it has to go systematically to generation and generation. And the fourth concept in Islam is the fair wages. Pay the worker before his rise. So this is the economic system. So Rasulullah had given a very good economic system, unmatchable economic system. So this is guaranteed success of any country to become a developed country if they practice these things. So economic system is far important in civilization, developing a civilization. Now, not only this, Rasulullah also talked about the aesthetic, the beauty. Aesthetic. Islam also talks about the aesthetic values. So leisure time, people should enjoy, or people should spend time in the way that relaxing or entertaining some. Allah is beautiful and He loves beauty. Allahu Jamilun wa yuhibbul jamal. So Islam emphasizes the beauty, architecture and craft. The Prophet's mimbar was decorated with pomegranate wood orbs. Even graves were to be properly balanced. Beauty matters even in death. So normally It doesn't mean that we have to construct nicely in the grave, not like that. It has to be balanced way, like in a proper way, the sand to be in a proper way, or it has to be in a simple and proper. Poetry and oratory. The Prophet encouraged eloquent speech and enlightened poetry as expression of civilized culture. So we cannot take example here. So many examples there Rasulullah had encouraged or loved certain poetry and option. And Quranic recitation, so that is also something similar to poetry. So recitation, Abu Musa al-Ash'ari was praised for beautiful recitation. The Prophet said, "He who does not recite the Quran beautifully does not belong to me." That means whoever reciting the Quran beautifully, so that belongs to Allah. That's the way of prophets. So Islam or Rasulullah had emphasized the aesthetic or beauty. Right. Now, Sunnah's role in legislation, the law. Rasulullah spoke about the law. He was the judge or the lawyer in that. So what is the main law here? The law of civilization, the Sharia. Sharia is the law of civilization. So what is Sharia? The Quran and Sunnah together form Sharia. The legal tradition governing all societal affairs. The Sunnah defines what the Quran leaves open. Example, Quran's punishment of hand amputation was defined by the Prophet as cutting to the wrist. So how it is to be applied. So Sunnah was the explanation to Quran. And also, one of the main legislation was the Medina Charter. The Prophet's constitutional agreement upon migrating to Medina is a landmark legal document of Islamic civilization. If you study about the Medina Charter, it's this landmark document, constitutional agreement. So we can say in jurisdiction of the legal legislation is based on Quran. So that is a primary divine text. Then things not clear for us, then we can get from Sunnah. Sunnah is the Prophet's words and actions that define, expand, and complement to the Quran. Sunnah is based on Quran only. But sometimes certain issues nowadays that we face, modern issues, the contemporary issues, so that is based on Quran and Sunnah. Someone has to give fatwa or someone has to give judgment on that. So that is called ijtihad. The people who were practicing ijtihad is called mujtahid. So that is the scholarly reasoning when Quran and Sunnah are silent. Or sometimes it is not clear for us. So that the ijtihad is supporting with that. So Sunnah's role in legislations, how the Prophet ﷺ, how the great person he is. So how many subscribers for him now? Billions of subscribers. You have subscribed to him, I have subscribed to him. So no one in this world that much of subscriptions. So the role of legislation is also to be considered in Islamic civilization. And if you talk about the Renaissance in the history, people were talking about the beauty, aesthetic. Europe was talking about it very recently compared to Rasulullah's time. So the Sunnah to Renaissance, if you type Renaissance, you'll be able to get more on the Renaissance. The Sunnah, the foundational guidance preserved and taught. Then Khulafa also, Khalifs, governance expands the community and institutions in aesthetic or in a beautiful way. And golden age, the scholars advance science, arts, and translation. So that is part of this Renaissance, or part of the relaxation, or part of concentrating on things, art especially, and science and other translations. Now the world, a dark age at that time, the Abbasids time, other part of the world, Abbasid time, the people from that area was benefited with this science, arts, and translation. But in Europe at that time was a dark age. The kings were trying to conquer the places, the warriors, the wars and things, battles, so many issues were going on. People didn't have time to concentrate on science, arts, and translation. But simultaneously, the other part of the world with Abbasid Caliphs, they were benefited on that. Then the world at that time was thinking about it. We also should change. So they were thinking, and they brought something called Renaissance at that time. The European revival inspired by Islamic knowledge, especially during the Abbasids time. The bottom line is the Prophet's statement that it is your responsibility to convey to those who are not here. Ensured Islamic civilization continued growing through scholars, thinkers, translators, artists, and rulers across centuries. So that is where the Renaissance is come. Renaissance. All in all, that civilization, Islamic civilization, is a living civilization. All other civilizations, it's dead or it is stale or outdated or rotten. We can show some monuments or we can show something which is ancient archaeological evidences. That's it. But a civilization which is a living civilization, the Islamic civilization continues to walk the path of the Sunnah of this day. As I mentioned, still people pray 5 times prayers and Rasulullah's name is praised in Azan. We are subscribed to him. Many people liked him, the billions, trillions, until the day of judgment. A guide from the Middle Ages to modern times still has to go. The Sunnah is not a historical artifact. Sunnah is not a historical artifact. Today's history, today's living things, tomorrow become history. So Rasulullah's history is not a history. It is not historical artifact. It is continuing. It is living civilization. Islamic civilization is living civilization. It is a living, active, force-shaping individuals. Shape the individuals, it shaped the families, shaped the societies and economics, laws and art, aesthetic, wherever Muslims live and practice. So this is what we needed, nothing else. To form a civilization, so these are the things needed. So we need to change the individuals. We need to change the families, societies, change the economic systems, the laws and aesthetic beauty and stuff. Leisure, beauty, art, science, all these things come under the aesthetic. Right, so today's takeaway, we said any civilization to form, so we need to target or we need to focus the individual first. Rasulullah did it. Any civilization, if I wanted to bring a civilization, so I have to follow these things. There is no other way that we can develop a society or bring civilization. Individual first, civilization begins with personal development, dignity of people, and equality for every human being. Then it moves to the family as core. Family is the core. Strong family is built on prophetic guidance and the building blocks of the strong society. So families are the building block of the strong society. Individual, families, and society. How society is formed. What else we need? We need the law and governance. The Sunnah provided constitutional, political, and legal frameworks still relevant today. Also, the economic system we learned. And timeless blueprint that Prophet Sunnah remains the definitive guide to understanding and building Islamic civilization. Timeless blueprint. So these are the key takeaways for today.